Well, we're joined now by HuskerOnline Sean Callahan. Sean, what was your impression of the first appearance by Dana Holgorsen and his media setting yesterday?
Well, he's a confident coach who's been a head coach for 14 years, and he spoke like that. I mean, and I think a lot of people that listen to it, I mean, the comments, people really appreciated the honesty because look, the perimeter blocking has been embarrassing. I watch USC on Saturday. I'm like, man, they run these screens and bang, bang, their blocks are perfect. And, we saw a lot of other offenses at Nebraska do that over the years. Tim Beck's had great perimeter blocking. You go down the line, Mike Riley's, every coach that's been here before, that hasn't been an issue. And it's been an issue this year. And it really is hard to do a lot of the things they want to do with the numbers game and on the perimeter when the blocks aren't being hit. He's like, look, we can't do what we want to do if these blocks aren't going to be made. And, I thought the running back comment was interesting too, just that there are holes there and the backs aren't hitting the holes.
Sean Callahan joins us. Sean, did you get any kind of feel? I don't know if you went back and listened to Holgorsen. Did you get any kind of feel for, is this just a temporary thing for him, or could this turn into long-term? We still don't know that. What is the feel you got from Holgorsen?
Yeah, I don't think this is temporary. I mean, I think as long as the last few weeks go to plan and nothing comes unforeseen here, I mean, I think this is meant to be a long-term move. He's still being paid by Houston. So whoever is getting Dana Holgorsen is going to get him for $800,000. I mean, that's the minimum Nebraska is allowed to pay him. That's what his monthly payment is at right now. And Houston is paying him, I believe, $4 or $5 right now for this year and next year. Then they get 60% of that the next two. So you're going to get Dana Holgorsen at a pretty bargained price. When you consider Satterfield's making $1.4 million. So it's not about the money. It's about the opportunity. It's about what school is going to give him the best opportunity, what quarterback is going to give him the best opportunity to maybe do some of the things that he wants to do to make that next move in his coaching career.
Sean, what were your thoughts on the first game for him against USC? Against Nebraska loses 28-20, but he called the plays. What were your thoughts on his play calling?
Well, I think it'd be extremely difficult to do what he did, to come in and not be a part of the staff at all, and step in and call the game. But I thought some of the operations, some of the things they did looked good. I thought they did find some things in the running game we hadn't seen all year. But again, the struggles of man-to-man are real. Nebraska has not been a great team with the receivers getting separation, getting open. And that's going to probably be continuing to be what they're going to see. We know Wisconsin for sure, and Iowa generally is a quarters team. But will they change up some things, knowing that's been a weakness for Nebraska and how they play?
Sean, I don't expect you to know this answer, but I'm going to go back to the part of the press conference. It was one of the more intriguing parts when he said there's a player he's watching that could help us. He didn't want to identify that player who evidently hasn't played much because he wanted to talk to the staff first. Is there any idea in your head? Do you have any ideas in your head? Were you kind of surprised that he brought that up?
Well, last week it was Janiron Bonner. That's definitely one of the guys last week. I talked to some people about that more, and the snap counts reflect that. Bonner played the most snaps he's played.
Okay.
Now, is there another guy? Now that's obviously the question. And is it a behind-the-scenes walk-on player? Is it a Carter Nelson? Is it somebody like that? Is it Malachi Coleman? It's really, really hard to say. Could it be like a Isaiah Garcia Castaneda who played more early in his career and hasn't played in the rotation? So, the one comment he made is sometimes as position coaches we get blinded, and I think anyone that's played a sport can shake their head to that comment. You could have the best practice of your life, and sometimes a position coach won't even notice because they've already made their minds up on players and their opinions. And sometimes maybe a fresh set of eyes coming in can recognize and see some things. And he made sure to say that yesterday, which I thought was interesting.
How big of a difference, Sean? There's some debate out there. How big of a difference is it going 6-6 versus 7-5?
Well, it'd be huge in the context of this.
Or excuse me, 5-7, 5-7. Yeah.
Not even debatable. It changes the whole month of December.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the whole off season to have a bowl game discussion and a step forward for this team. And look, everyone wanted more than 6. Let's not jack around here and say that. No one is thrilled with 6, but you have to take 6 right now if you're Nebraska, and you can't act like it's a bad season because you haven't had this type of season, since 2016. And then that's the reality of what's going on. And it's interesting to hear Troy Dannon and to hear Dana Holgorsen both say in the last week or two that streak is hard to fathom. It just doesn't even make sense because something like Nebraska football with the tradition, the history, the facilities, the resources, everything it has, it's one of the hardest streaks to wrap your hands around and understand why this is happening here. It shouldn't be happening. And it would just be nice to kind of close the book. And again, I said this to you on your show before, 2020, they qualified for a bowl with those rules and they voted not to go to a bowl. And to this day, that grinds my gears. I know it was kind of a joke. They're 3-5, but they qualified to play in a bowl. A lot of teams that year, because you played conference only schedules, and the players voted no. Some of the guys that are walking on the senior day were on that team, and it could have been over with if they chose not to want to do it.
Yeah.
Sean, 2 games left. Nebraska again is a favorite against Wisconsin on Saturday here in Lincoln. They're at Iowa to close. I mean, they've lost 4 straight games. They've not won a game since October 5th. Do you believe they will get over the hump in one of these 2 games and get to 6 wins?
Well, the facts are the facts on these 2 final games. They've only beaten Wisconsin 1 time in their 14 years now in the Big Ten.
Okay.
That was 2012.
Okay.
Then with Iowa, they've only beaten them 1 time since Bo Pelini was fired. So you go down and look at the data is against Nebraska, but I think they're getting Iowa and Wisconsin probably at 2 of the best times they've gotten them in a long time. I mean, Wisconsin, you think about the things off the field, Jack Del Rio's DUI, and then now this situation with Phil Longo, injuries. Will Pauling does not look potentially available. Hunter Wohler could be out or, coming off stuff. So they're getting the Badgers at a great opportunity here in Lincoln. So I like Nebraska this week, and I do. I think this game means more, and they're better aligned. Now, next week at Iowa, all bets are off. They've lost their quarterback for the year. Mm-hmm. They might go back to McNamara. They might go back to this walk-on guy that has played for them. So it's so hard to say, but Iowa, we know, will have elite running and very good defense. So that's going to be a tough game to win in Iowa City. I want to watch Iowa closely this weekend against Maryland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Sean, shift gears real fast. The significance in your mind of Nebraska. Now, you've reported this. You reported it last week. Nebraska's game against Cincinnati looks like it's on the move, moving from Indianapolis to Arrowhead next season. That's the opener, and you think it could be a Thursday night?
Yeah, the Kansas City Royals already play Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
And Fox and CBS, or Fox and ESPN, both would be potential options for Thursday night because that's a window for the Big 12 and the Big 10. So that they would air a lot of games. And Minnesota usually has played in that window. Well, they don't play a good team to open the year this year. They play a group of 5 team. But it'd be a huge win for Nebraska because it's not their home game. This is Cincinnati's decision. Nebraska is not driving the bus here. Cincinnati's doing this to get as much money as possible to help pay these new bills that are coming to everybody.
Yeah.
Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan.